it that there's an order, and that's why. It's just so it's more easier for you guys.
Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to the candidate Q&A for the role of academic representation. I'm AJ, I'm the Student Council Chair, and today I will be hosting and taking us through the Q&A process. Before we introduce the candidates, I'm going to run over how the session will work. Firstly, we will begin with introductions from each one of our candidates. Each of them will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves and their manifesto points. This is not all the candidates running for this role, but a full list is available on our website. Each candidate that is here today will be presented with some preset questions, and they will take it in turn to answer these questions. After this, we will give the candidates a chance to answer any questions posed by anyone viewing this session or viewing at home, and answer these questions in regards to any other answers they've given or about the manifestos. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to answer each of these questions. Once the time limit is up, we will have to cut the candidate off. This is done in order to create a fair expression opportunity. If you have any questions for the candidates, please raise your hand or post these in the comment section if you're joining us from home. A member of staff will be monitoring to make sure these questions are answered or as many are picked as possible. If you would like to view the candidates' manifestos, you can do this on our website at upsu.net/elections. Just a reminder that voting starts on the 20th of March at 9 AM. Once you have watched all the Q&A sessions that are being held this week, that should be enough for you to decide on who you would like to elect as the new representation officers for the next academic year. You will be able to place these votes next week by UPSU website or at one of the polling stations around campus. Okay, so let's get started. We will now start with introductions from the candidates. First up is Maria.
Hi everyone.
Hi everyone, I'm Maria. I moved 3 years ago from Croatia to study here at the University of Portsmouth, and currently I'm a final year psychology student, hopefully graduating in a few months. When it comes to my manifesto, it can be summed into 3 points, basically grades, costs, and conversations. Through uncapped resets and fairer feedback framework, it will be easier for students to get fairer and more accurate grades, which will affect their future employability and degree in general. Costs, through lowering current mandatory software costs and other learning-related costs, and also introducing a hardship fund, and introducing revision clinic and expanding current peer assistant scheme. It will be easier to get to basically have less stressful and more consolidation knowledge when it comes to exams, assignments, and stuff like that. And when it comes to conversations, currently universities and the union are making many decisions about students without actually involving students in that process. And current evaluation feedback frameworks that are happening aren't actually really solid because they're too wide and too spread. So through simplifying them, restructuring them, and introducing this personal touch through monthly forums that will also involve free pizza, it will be easier to get personal back with students and allow them to get together with officers and faculty representatives to have open conversations about their issues and possible solutions. Through my roles as faculty representative for science and health, student voice assistant, I had many opportunities to actually talk with students and help them.
Thank you very much, Maria. Next up, it's important to say we've got 2 candidates running under the name Ria. This is Ria Shah.
Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Ria Shah, and I'm running for the Academic Representation Officer. So I'm an international student. I'm from Kenya, and I'm currently studying economics and management. I'm in my 2nd year, and I think the first thing that I'd have to say is being an international student, of course, comes with a lot of nerves. You're moving to a new country, and it requires a a lot of change. But I think my experience here, coming here, was one of the best. I felt really included, and I want to make sure that every student here gets the same experience, enjoys the time here. In terms of my manifesto, it includes 2 points. The first one is to increase funding available for students. So of course there's the hardship funds, but I want to make sure that the students are aware that they have these funds, because given the rising cost of living, it's of course affecting adults. So you can imagine the life of a uni student who has so much going on, the juggling between going out, attending events, cooking, buying stuff. So I think these funds will really help them. My second point is to increase equality, diversity, and inclusivity in all aspects of the university. So this is sports, academics, socials, and whether you belong to any cultural background, the LGBTQ community, whether you have physical disabilities, mental health issues, I think there's a space for everyone here, and I want to make it a place for everyone. And my final point is to increase the confidence of the student voice. Anytime you have any problem, I think you should be able to voice it out, and I want to bring swift and sustainable solutions to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ria. Next up, we've got Jerry.
My name is Jerry. I'm an international student from Nigeria. My faculty is Humanities and Social Science. I'm studying Business Communication for International Leadership. My manifesto is one, education innovation. Education innovation, what I mean is that so many things that needs to be corrected. For example, if we check each of the departments, where you want to go and make some research, like for example, lecturers will tell students to give some research, and you have to come all the way from the department to get some textbooks to just make some research. But basically, each department is supposed to have some books inside their department, even though it is a library. And secondly, too, it is language diversity. Now, when you're talking about language diversity, it brings people together. And when it brings people together, trying to create understanding and that love and care, because I noticed that people coming from different parts of the country are finding it difficult to understand each other. That's why you see a certain country are being gathered by a group of, for example, you see an Indian, they are coming together trying to communicate to each other just because they need to understand themselves, but they cannot get along with other students who are from other countries. So these are one of the criteria that we need to I need to look into. And thirdly is going for debates, because I feel that going for debate is going to increase the confidence of students and actually understanding each other, because if this debate is actually going to be given, then it's going to be improved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jerry. And finally, we've got Ola.
My name is Ola. I'm from Nigeria. I'm currently studying Masters in Project Management. My manifesto is in 2 folds. First is effective representation, and then on inclusive representation by diversity, and then irrespective of your gender, irrespective of your culture. The first one, which is an effective representation. When we are talking about effective representation, irrespective of the culture, your cultural background, you should be able to voice out what do you need, what are you lacking when it comes to your academics. How are you going to do? There are some certain things which you just need few information to do them. Maybe in terms of your model, maybe in terms of some things which your lecturer has taught you. Some students are coming from a background whereby they can't voice out when it comes to them having problem. Even some of the home students, some students will be able to say, okay, this is what I need. So by effective representation, you as an academic representative, you should be able to say, okay, this is what they need, this is what they are lacking. You should be able to be like an intermediary between them and the management. Then when it comes to an all-inclusive representation, We are all from different backgrounds. We are all from some, even though within the own students, there are some certain things which you are not aware of. For instance, there are some funds which are allocated to students. How many students are aware of that? Only few students will be able to relate to that. Student groups, there are student groups. How many students are aware of the student groups? Even when it comes to electioneering, some students don't even know that there is an election taking place. So you should be able to educate the students on these are the things going on related to academics.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the candidates for introducing themselves. Now we will move on to the Q&A part of this segment. First question. What do you think is the biggest challenge faced by students at the moment? Starting with Maria.
I would say it's stress, because stress causing academically caused stress isn't only connected with lectures, isn't only connected with PowerPoint presentations, or even just exams that are happening one next to each other, assignments that are due really in a really short period of times. It's also affected by mental health, physical health, personal situations, problems at home, whether you have food on your table or not, part-time jobs, full-time jobs. All of these issues are basically causing stress to students, which in the end affects their academic experience, which after that basically reflects on their grades and how are they going to perform. So when it comes to solving all of these problems, basically we shouldn't just deal with what is obvious, which is exams, and we shouldn't just deal with all of these symptoms of, oh, I'm feeling stressed. We should deal with basically root problems of all of these things, which I successfully tackled in my manifest. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. Moving on to Ria.
I think that the major problem that students are facing right now is definitely the rising cost of living. Like I mentioned before, the first point of my manifesto, I think it's really hard for students to just manage a lot of things. So you have to decide. I don't want students to have to decide between attending an event and buying, let's say, your pasta, because you shouldn't have to. I think the university years are the best years of your life. You're never going to get them back, and it's really important to make sure you enjoy them to the fullest. So I think the rising cost of living is one of the biggest problems students are facing right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ria. Moving on to Jerry.
Okay, the biggest challenge students are facing here is, I guess, is the language, because people coming from different parts of the country, they're having issue of communication. So, like for example, an Indian can come and meet me and start asking me questions. So I find it very difficult to understand them until I say, okay, speak very well. So I get it twice. So I guess is language that language diversity that is the issue that is finding difficult. That is the biggest challenge they have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jerry. And finally, Oda.
The biggest challenge which I seems students are having currently is inability to multitask. Multitasking from academics activities to societal activities, to their own activities. So inability to do this is one of the biggest challenges they are having. How do you solve a coursework given to you by a lecturer? Doing that, you also have to maintain. You also have to go back to your house and do some certain things. Even for some students are also doing some kind of, maybe they are doing some part-time jobs. How do you navigate between these things? So it's the inability to multitask. That is a major problem to me.
Thank you very much, everyone. That concludes our first question. Moving on to the next. How do you think your manifesto points would improve the academic experience for students? Starting with Ria this time.
So one of my points is to increase the confidence of students to be able to voice out their opinion. And I wish to do this through online forms available to students throughout the year, where at any given time, if they're given if they have a problem, they can just put it in the form and we can give them. Because usually the feedbacks that we have right now are at the end of a module or at the end of a semester, and it's usually for like the next set of students, not the ones who voice the problem. So I want to work to giving them swift solutions by making it more available to them, the means to be able to voice out the problems. So I think that's how one of my manifesto points is going to improve their education and experience.
Thank you, Ria. Moving on to Jerry.
I guess is debates, like organizing trainings for students. I feel that training and this debate needs to be put in the school. Like for example, each department going for debate like topics, it brings students together, also increase their confidence, and also training. Also, there are some certain courses that might not get interesting with some students. So, if the students have interest in these courses they are doing training, then they'll find it interesting and they'll want to ensure that yes, that this is what they want to go for, and they might use it they might even add it to part of their course that they are studying in the university. So training and debate is part of the thing the school needs to introduce. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Moving on to Owen.
By creating more awareness on the need for academic excellence in their courses. Okay. For instance, a student studying a project management now, he or she ought to be aware of what are the pros and cons of this course. How will I be able to do this, some certain things? How will I be able to do my coursework? How will I be able to do some certain things within the scope of study, within the scope of the course? So by creating more awareness, thereby this will help to motivate students academically.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Maria.
Since we currently already have basically evaluation forms that are present all year round, I would say that the biggest problem isn't with them being present, we have maybe too many. And why they aren't working is because the trust between students and the university and students and union has been severely damaged. So through my monthly forums and opportunities to have those open conversations, we'll actually have opportunity to start rebuilding that trust, which is really important to have a sincere conversation so that we can actually start resolving problems. Then through expanding peer assistance scheme and starting like revision clinics, it will be easier for students to come together, help each other to consolidate that knowledge so that tomorrow when they're actually sitting in exams or doing assignments, they feel more confident about that. And through uncapped resets and hardship funds, well, we are all having difficulties, and hardship fund, especially when it comes to partaking in different student experiences like societies and sport events, some of us can't afford it. So through hardship funds, it will be easier to expand that student experience so that it's not just I'm attending lecture and then after that going home, but you will actually have opportunity to meet different people and try different things, because this is time for trying and expanding your horizons. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all the candidates for their answers. Moving on to the next question. What one thing would you most like to achieve or change if you were elected as an academic representation officer?
Please,
Start.
can come over again?
I'll repeat the question, of course. What one thing would you most like to achieve or change if you were elected as an academic representation officer? And starting with Jerry this time.
Okay, if I'm being elected as the academic representation officer, first, I'm going to change this, the ways which the students have, challenges they're having based on going to the library, and I will ensure some books are being, that each faculty must have their departmental books for them to be put in their department instead of them coming to the library. Some of them might find it very difficult to walk down from the department to the library. Secondly, I'm going to look at bringing out organizing trainings. Like most students, like if you see most of the Bangladesh, the Indians, the Nigerians, the Africans. Some people are very good, are very skillful in so many things like computer. Some of them are good in very, very smart in thinking. You know, this is a way of improving, knowing students' skills on how they act. So it is one of the things I'm going to do. So I have to understand every student and what they can do for the school, and also building up.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Moving on to Ola.
So, I know that there's an evaluation book for students to put down what they are, maybe what they are lacking in regards to their academics. I believe I'll work more on the evaluation form so as to be a point of work on it to the student, whereby I can assess, I'll be able to know, okay, these are the major problems which they are facing currently. Because then I'll also do a constant, it will be like a form of constant evaluation, whereby within each month I'll be able to know, okay, what are the problems they are facing as at this moment, what is another problem, then I'll be able to solve that in line with the management by talking to them, okay, these are what the students are facing currently, these are the things we need to put in place, these are the things we need to do. Then again, there will be some forms of, there are study groups, then there will be much more improvement on the study groups, whereby people from different faculties of that maybe they are in their final year, they will be able to train and they will be able to mentor the students maybe within the first year, or maybe a master student that he or she is almost done with this program, they will be able to mentor the upcoming one, maybe the master student in his first month.
Thank you very much. On to Maria.
For me, the biggest one is uncapped resets. Basically, meaning currently what we have here is if you fail an assignment or if you fail an exam, you can redo that, but you're capped at 40%. It's really stressful because what it tells you is you need to be perfect all the time. If you're not perfect all the time, if you fail, the next time you will be punished and you will be capped at 40%. It's stressful and it affects students on their overall grade. So by introducing uncapped reset, at least one per year, students will actually have opportunity to just be students, to be people. They will have a chance to not be at their best all the time and still know that it's okay. It won't actually affect me that much. This policy already exists at some other universities across the UK, like University of Bristol, and some, like University of Cardiff, are trying to introduce it. So what I'm trying to say is that this is a change that is already starting to begin all over the UK. And we as the University of Portsmouth can be either at the beginning of that change or at the back of it. And I want to start it, I want to bring it here, and I want to bring basically fairer and more human conditions for our students.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our final question.
Sorry, I didn't answer.
Oh, so sorry, Ria.
Sorry, I just lost the question.
What one thing would you most like to achieve or change if you were elected as an academic representation officer?
So if I was chosen as the academic representation officer, the one thing that I would want to achieve is to cater to every single student's need. Now, as impossible as that sounds, given it's a university and a huge student body, I aspire to get as close to achieving that, because, well, let's face it, you made it to uni, it wasn't an easy ride, and since you're here, you made it this far, don't you think you deserve the best experience? So I want to be able to cater to every single student's needs, give you what you want, be it academically or be it on a night out. I just want to make sure that you have your best time here. So that's something I really hope to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and apologies for skipping too far ahead. And our final question of the preset part of this: how do you think equality, diversity, and inclusivity considerations impact the academic experience of students, starting with Ola this time?
When it comes to the equality and diversity, it will affect students if it's not properly looked into. As an academic representation officer, I believe there are people of different backgrounds within this school. So I should be able to influence those students so as that they'll be able to adapt to the kind of environment, to the kind of educational system that is being run in Portsmouth. I should be able to put them in the limelight whereby they will find it easy and convenient for them to excel irrespective of their chosen field and their chosen career.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Maria.
Of course, they are all important. So when it comes to inclusivity, currently we have one of the lowest attendance rates at the university. And one of the reasons is because people just don't feel that they belong here. So if we start to tackle that, if we improve that inclusivity, basically meaning that people feel like they belong, attendance rate will also rise. When it comes to diversity, currently as the faculty representative, I'm working with PGM ambassadors to decolonize in our curriculum, which means that new ideas are going to be made mandatory for students to achieve that and basically learn that. Because through learning about new cultures, through learning about new ideas, we're actually expanding ourselves and exiting all these premium boxes that we were put into. And last but not least, when it comes to equality, more than equality, I prefer equity. Because equality says we are all the same, but we are not all the same. We are coming from different backgrounds, we have different opportunities, we have different resources. So what equity does is it basically says things are going to be fair. We are going to bridge the gap between your opportunities, which may be lower than someone else's, and this, where you can actually be if we help you through hardship funds and other resources. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Ria.
I think I agree over here. If at the back of your head you were thinking about, am I going to be invited to this, or would I fit into this event? How are you going to focus on your submissions and your deadlines? So I definitely think that inclusivity and through any events or anything is definitely going to increase academic performance for students, because it's going to give them one less thing to stress about. So yeah, that's what I think.
Thank you very much. And finally, Jerry.
What I'm going to look at is ensuring students are having an easy environment, especially communication is very important, because with communication and also with the regular language, which is English, is going to be represented to each and also ensuring that these people coming from different backgrounds are also belonging in this background, and also ensuring everyone are being accepted. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you to all the candidates for some great answers to these quite difficult questions. Moving on. Next up, we will take some questions from the audience. So if you do have a question, please raise your hand, or if you are joining us from home, please post a comment. Do we have any questions from the audience members? Right. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Just sorry to ask, I think obviously you guys have talked about some of the things you're looking to do. I think it's really, really good. And sometimes you make plans that you need to achieve them because of different purposes. How would you able to deal with failure, if it's the case that you're able to achieve maybe one specific manifesto point or one specific pledge? How are you going to deal with that as a person within your role as an academic representation officer?
Okay, are you talking about failure?
So yes, so if for example you're able to, so this is a question for everybody, if you're able to achieve a specific manifesto point, for example, how are you going to deal with that? Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Talking on that area where you asked us, I would like to say in the area of failure, I need to look into my errors and my errors in which I've not met based on what I've said in my manifesto. If I see that I have some errors in my manifesto, I need to go and review them and also correct them immediately. Because I guess in every manifesto you are making, you need to show transparency to everyone and proving to them that this is what you want to do and you want to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to answer that question? We'll go through this question first.
Yeah.
You're next.
When it comes to failures, of course, that when it comes to all these things and manifesto points that we want to achieve, it's not just us. There are so many different structures that are happening in the university that are actually responsible for implementing those changes or helping us to actually achieve them. So first thing I would say is realizing that, okay, if I really don't manage to implement everything on that level, it's not because I failed. It's because there are other forces outside of me that are actually that are stopping certain changes. But at the same time, I would have to work really hard, and I would have to figure out something that is equal to what I promised originally and I couldn't deliver, because students still deserve to get improvements. And if I just promise and then say, oh sorry, I couldn't because of the others, then I basically fail in trust that has been given to me by people who decide to give me their vote, and it's not acceptable. So as long as I manage to find things that are going to be equal to things that I didn't manage to accomplish, I would say it's still good.
Thank you very much. Priya? If no other candidates want to hold up?
To me, I believe if upon adventure, I was unable to achieve what I stated in my manifesto, I should be able to give something relating to that to students, because having said all that in my manifesto, there are so many institutions which I'm required to do. So even with peradventure, it happened that I did not fulfill that part, I should be able to give them what will relate to what I've stated. It might not be the exact thing, but I should be able to give them my best.
Thank you very much. If all the candidates are happy, we can move on to the next question.
Just a quick one.
Pass the microphone, maybe better.
That's fine.
My question is, as academic representation officer, a key role is obviously dealing with and working with course reps and proposal reps to ensure that students are properly represented. How do you ensure that you get regular feedbacks from the student population? Because we have 33,000 students. How do you ensure that we continuously get regular feedback from them?
Okay, you're talking about course reps, focusing in each department. Okay, what I'm going to do is that I will need to work hand in hand with them, and I need to, share my email or my contact to them. So instead of them calling me, I'll tell them they should send me text in areas where they are lacking or issues they are having in their department. They should give me details or they should email me, because I feel that I need to know what is going on in each department, because it is it is my right to know what it's my right to know what the student wants, and I need to ensure that I give them that satisfaction and ensure that they have a very easy and conducive environment, not only in the environment, also in their class. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just like you said, the first thing that I would do is definitely increase course rep interaction and generally bridge the gap between the students and the staff, and they make sure that you get to know what the students need and the students know what the staff are trying to give out. But sometimes I think after you've had like a Java lecture, you just can't be bothered to give feedback. So I try and incentivize the students to make sure that they give a feedback. It could be in any form, just make sure that it's going to benefit them, let them know that it's going to benefit them, so that would help them provide feedback.
In my role as faculty representative, I had chances to deal with many course reps. Basically this year I started drop-ins for my course reps precisely because of this issue. And what I've learned is that, well, there are thousands and thousands of course reps. It's impossible to deal with them one-on-one with every single one, especially if you're in the role as academic representation officer, which takes so many other things. Which is exactly why I would start teaching students from the beginning of the year, which I think that it's something that isn't happening currently, to give them this information. That information has to be delivered in person. They need to know that, okay, these are your course reps, people that you currently see in your blue hoodies. This is their role. This is what students that in the past have spoken have delivered to you today. So you have all of these things, you have all of these improvements only because of the students who spoke up in the past. So you can be the change for someone else in the future, starting with yourself. And I will also bring tablets which will basically be able, which students will be able to just stick at the end of the lecture. Was it satisfactory and stuff like that? Like little faces which will start that engagement and start those conversations, and monthly feedbacks, monthly forums, of course.
Thank you very much. And finally, who?
I believe as an academic representation officer, I can't do it alone. So I will have to work with the course rep, because I believe the course rep and the faculty rep, they are the first contacts that students. They are the first contacts for students to deal with. So I will ensure that I have a platform whereby each of these course rep and faculty rep, they are going to give me their feedback. Okay, these are our problem, this is what we need from you. So I will work hand in hand with them so as to achieve my aim and objective. I can't do none of my manifesto, I can't achieve it alone without faculty rep and course rep. So I will ensure that most of the feedback being given to me, and I work on it. Then there will be a constant evaluation of what they need. What are the needs of the students? There will be a constant evaluation of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the question. Do we have any more questions? Please.
So my question is kind of targeted on kind of how you're going to get course reps to even engage. Yes, they have a role, their role and feedback reports are fully volunteer. So how are you going to make them engage? How are you going to make them want to give their feedback? How are you going to want to make them do anything? Because at the end of the day, it's just a volunteer role. On their CV, they can claim they did it, but there's no really need to put hard evidence that they actually did it. So how are you going to make sure that they are accounted for, and how are you going to take advantage of them? Because it's very hard to do so.
Thank you very much. Jerry, would you like to start?
Okay, please, please, can you repeat what you just said, please? Please, I didn't hear you properly, please. I wish.
Quickly.
Sorry.
How are you going to make course reps engage? Their work is volunteer work, so how are you going to make sure that they answer your questions and are available to you as much as you want them?
Now, if I want to work with my course reps, I need to call a meeting. Then I'm going to get each and every one of them a task in each of the departments, and I need to also monitor, because I can't do it alone. I need to see what they want to do. Because if my subordinates, which are my course reps, they come and give me, they go for my tax, I give to them, and they achieve that tax I give to them. Then they come back and give me feedback, and we're going to discuss it on the meeting, and we try to sort out some issues we are having. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to answer the question?
So I think how course reps are like hired over here is it's basically they choose whether they want to be a course rep or not. So I think it's their responsibility, and so I remind them that you signed up for this, so it's your responsibility to make sure you give us the feedback, and of course maybe replace them if they're not doing the job too well.
Thank you very much. Maria.
I would say that for any conversation to happen, it can be one-sided. So from my experience and conversations that I've had with many different course reps, a lot of them actually are doing their job and want to do their job, but it's a monologue. They keep reaching out to students, and students don't feel motivated enough to engage with them. So I would say that the problem isn't just one-sided. It's not just course representatives, it's also student body. And why that's happening is because there isn't trust anymore. Because trust gives you that motivation to be, okay, I will speak up to you because you're my course representative, because I know that you will be able to say that to higher ups, and I know that it's going to make a change. So we need to start tackling that through building this relationship with each other, and through that students will be able to gain that trust and motivation to actually speak up and interact with course representatives and in the end with us.
Thank you very much for your answer. And if we pass the microphone to Owen.
I believe course rep is a volunteer role, which you are the one that is willing to willingly volunteer for. So working with course rep, I'm also used to course rep for my department, so I understand the kind of stress and the kind of things which course rep goes to. Being a course rep is quite tiring a lot. So I, as an academic representation officer, I would like to motivate them. Then I would like to have a cordial relationship with them to ascertain, okay, what are the areas which need or get attention. So I will try to motivate them and give them all the necessary support, so as to do that they will be able to do their work.
Thank you very much for some great answers. Do we have any more questions from the audience members? And I'm guessing we don't have any questions from online. Okay.
Actually, one more quickly.
Yeah?
Yeah. A big part of the job is hearing no from the university a lot of times. Quite a lot of proposals that you put in will be said no to. How do you relate this back to students? Obviously, you've been elected with the mandate of providing this manifesto to students. How do you relate it back to students and say, I've tried? What's your vision towards that? What's the end game? Because in any situations, you have to think about an end game. What's the end game when you say no to a proposal you come up with about one of your manifestos?
Please, can you say it again, please?
What would happen if the university says no to a proposal you made about a manifesto? What's the end game? How would you relate this back to students? Obviously, they've elected you based on this manifesto. How do you relate this back to your students and say, I've tried? What actions would you take after this? How would you help?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Starting with Jerry.
Okay. I know where I'm going. First of all, and it is going to be, going to be very, very critical questions that the students are going to ask me. So, and I have to I have to still ensure them, because as a leader, you need to like show, you need to show the student that this is what you are here for, and you are here for them, and you have to prove it to them, because every manifestos that you made, you have to show it to them, because like earlier I said that if there is errors in your manifesto, you need to go out there and correct it and show the student that you are there for them and prove it to them you are there. So it's just that's just being transparent. That is it to students.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to add as well? Yeah, go ahead.
So I would just, this concept of opportunity cost, where it's like you go for the next best alternative. So what I'll do is definitely go for the next best alternative. But about conveying it to the students, I try and understand why the university said no, understand the reason. I think that way it would be much easier to explain to the students why it was not possible, and it would help them understand as well.
Thank you very much.
One of the things that I'm planning to improve, if elected and if given trust by students, is basically transparency. So I think that would actually help in one of these cases. I would continue to use my social media and my Instagram account to actually give week to week or month to month updates of what is it that I'm actually doing and how is it progressing, and if not, why not. I think that currently that kind of transparency is missing, because if students want to learn what their elected officers have been doing, they have to find minutes from student councils that are lost somewhere in the website. This way, students would actually be in the loop of what is going on and how, and let's say that something is like a firm no from the university. It can't possibly be fully firm no. There has to be some things that they are saying no to. So, okay, what can we actually change to make it better so that the university accepts it? But the way how to do it is through asking students, okay, what is it that you need? And if this change is made, is it that something still that you would actually accept and that would improve your life? And then we would move forward.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And finally, Owen, to answer the question.
I believe there are so many approach to things. If the school management said, okay, we are not fine with these things which you have proposed, every issue has different approach. If I dialogue with the school management with using approach A, in which they feel like it's not worthy of doing that thing, I believe I can go back to the students. How will I go back to the students? To the course rep, to the faculty rep, by talking to them to redefine my proposal of maybe what I'm meant to do. What the students ask for, I'm going to redefine it, then I take it to this management using approach B. I believe they will be able to listen to me, and then they will adhere to the student need. Then about the feedback, there are so many ways in which I can give the student feedback, through social media, to their course reps, to their faculty reps. So these are the ways which I believe I can give back the students. I can give them enough feedback so that they will be able to, they will be aware of what are the things happening within the school environment. Even some students here, they don't even know the recent development within the school. So these are the ways in which I believe I'm going to avoid the situation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that question. In the next segment, we're going to allow candidates to ask themselves or each other questions about the manifesto or anything else that has been discussed this afternoon. So, the candidates, if you have any questions for any other candidate, please feel free to ask them now. Would anyone like to get started?
Okay. I have a question for everyone of us here. Now, we are all seated here, fighting for the post of academic representation officer, and you said cost of living. You said you need to like meet the student, right? He said he's going to he's going to check on how he's going to meet frustrate from now. We've all said our points, but if you're being elected as, if you are being elected as this batch, I might not be chosen, but if you're being like chosen as the academic presentation officer, with all these points you said, you know, it's easy and said, but can you meet up with the tax? That is the question. Because fighting for a post like this is not by saying things out. You need to be transparent with the students. You are dealing with a lot of students, millions of students, and you need to give them what they want.
That's a question to all the candidates, yes. Would anyone like to
Anyone
answer?
that wants to answer?
Ria, if you go first.
So I think some of my points are, so basically when I say to increase funds available to students, I think I'm not asking for billions of funds here. I think even a little bit can go a long way. So I think the goals that I've set are very achievable, but if they aren't achievable, then like I said, I'd go for the next best alternative. Go for what I can do, what I can improve for the students, and just make the experience better than what it is, or give them at least a little bit of what they want.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to answer? Ria?
When it comes to funds and stuff like that, I would basically each elected officer gets a certain amount of funds allocated to them to like spend them for like different initiatives that they have and other things. So basically that's one of the places where I could look into to like put aside and create a hardship fund. When it comes to other things, once you actually are elected, you go to the training, which gives you more information about what is it that your role actually entails, like how to do it properly, and which things you can actually affect, and how. Other than that, I mean, you just have to do things. You just have to do things and do them as best as you can. And when it comes to my experiences so far, I didn't just listen to students, I actually acted on things that they were telling me, and after I acted, I basically reached out to them back again to say, okay, this is how the thing that you told me affected you, this is how it resulted. So that's something that I would continue to do forward.
Thank you very much. And finally, Ola.
When it comes to my manifesto, I believe I'm capable of doing these things. That is why I wrote some of the highlighted points. Then I believe I can't do it alone. By working with the course of the faculty rep, I will be able to achieve this. Then, irrespective of the situation whereby of the students, or irrespective of the kind of problem they might be facing, I believe dialogue is the key. By dialoguing with the management on the needs of the students, so I will be able to achieve my manifesto. Also, again, when it comes to transparency, transparency will be my watchword. As I will be giving the students feedback from time to time about what I've done, what needed to be done, and then what I'm still going to do.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions from any other candidates? No.
Anybody?
No, this is candidates for candidates section. Okay, if that's all the questions, that's everything we have time for today. I'd like to thank all the candidates today for their great answers and participation, and also the audience for attending and for their questions. For everyone watching, please remember that if you do have any more questions, please comment them down in the comment section below, and the candidates will see those questions. You can also meet the candidates next Wednesday at the elections fair in a union building to discuss their goals and manifesto points and ask them any questions. Once again, we would like to remind you that voting is taking place next week. Voting starts 9 AM on Monday, the 20th of March, and closes 1 PM on Friday, the 24th of March. There are lots of prizes up for grabs when you take part in voting, and it's an amazing opportunity to have your say in who represents you for the next year. Thank you again for watching. Join us tomorrow for the Development Officer questions and answer session, and see you next week for voting. Thank you very much. Thank you guys.